Hi guys, welcome back to another makeup and true crime video. Today we're going to be talking about the Brooke Skylar Richardson case, and if you guys have not heard about this case, it is a crazy one. So let's just jump straight in. So Brooke actually went by her second name most of the time, which was Skylar, so we'll call her Skylar from now on. Skylar was born in Carlisle, Ohio, which is a small town with a population of around 5,000 people. She was 18 years old in 2017 and she was a senior in high school. Skylar's parents' names were Kim and Scott Richardson, and then she also had a brother, and his name was Jackson. Both Skylar and her brother were super athletic. Jackson was on the football team, and Skylar was into cheerleading. The Richardson family seemingly lived a perfect life, at least from the outside looking in, that's what it seems like. Don't we all know somebody like that? Like somebody who pretends to live like this most perfect life, and then everything you see on social media is just so perfect. And then sometimes it can get to you and you're like, why isn't my life like that? But then you have to realize that 99% of the time, it's not real. It's just like a facade to fool you. And that's the same case with the Richardsons' perfect family image. What lied beneath was Skylar was actually battling an eating disorder, seemingly from being very aware of her body during cheerleading. Skylar had a lot of pressure to maintain this good image, perform well at school, perform well at cheerleading, as her family wanted to portray that perfect family image. She weighed about 40 kilos or about 90 pounds, and she was only 5 feet 3 inches tall. Skylar was super proud of her role as a flyer, so that meant that she got thrown in the air and she had to perform stunts on the cheerleading team, and maybe she had to be a certain weight or look a certain way to keep that role. Skylar's eating disorder was so severe that her mother, Kim, remembers that when Skylar was 12 years old, she didn't even want to chew gum because she thought it had too many calories. It seemed like Skylar and her mother were close, but at the same time, if you are so close with your child, can't you see the pressure that you're putting on them is possibly hurting them, and maybe it's time to get them support? Also, I think it's super important to mention that Skylar was a very private person, and this possibly played a role in her eating disorder. And her friends say that she was pretty popular at school, but they labeled her as a people pleaser. So if her food came out wrong at a restaurant, she would just deal with it and wouldn't say anything. And she basically always wanted others to be happy. So in July 2016, Skylar started dating Trey Johnson, and Trey stated that they only dated for around a month, but they had sex a couple times, and one of those times they didn't use any protection. Trey says that Skylar was the one who ended the relationship, and after she did this, she blocked him on all social media, and they just didn't have any communication from there on. Then, in early 2017, Skylar began dating a boy named Brandon, and this relationship became serious quite quickly, and Skylar's parents liked Brandon. They thought he was a good influence on her, and they saw that she was gaining weight, and she just seemed a lot happier during this time. Now, because this relationship became serious so quickly, Skylar's mother, Kim, took Skylar to the doctor because she believed it was time for Skylar to get onto birth control. So on April 26, 2017, Skylar and her mother visited the Hilltop Obstetrics and Gynecology Clinic, and her mom waited in the waiting room, and Skylar went in by herself because she had just turned 18. Skylar was seen by Dr. William Andrew, and Dr. Andrew had actually known Skylar her whole life. He was actually the doctor that delivered Skylar. So during this appointment, Dr. Andrew asked Skylar when her last period was, and I'm guessing Skylar couldn't give him a specific date at that point, so he then gave her a pregnancy test, which came back positive. Skylar was then freaked out and she told Dr. Andrews, I cannot have this baby. And she was adamant that no one could know she was pregnant, not even her mother. Dr. Andrews then performed an ultrasound on Skylar to confirm the pregnancy. And then he also let Skylar listen to the baby's heartbeat because in his experience, he believed that, women who were shocked by a pregnancy or having trouble accepting the fact that they were pregnant, once they listened to the heartbeat, they softened and they perhaps would change their feelings. But Skylar was still upset after the ultrasound, and she told Dr. Andrews that she couldn't have this baby because she was going to college in the fall. Dr. Andrews states that he believed that Skylar suspected she was pregnant, but she came to him looking for confirmation of a pregnancy. So from the ultrasound imaging, Dr. Andrew believed Skylar to be around 32 weeks pregnant, and the baby looked pretty healthy. And for those that don't know, a normal full-term pregnancy is around 40 weeks. So it looked like Skylar had around 8 weeks left in her pregnancy. Now, since Skylar came to the doctor for birth control pills, she begged Dr. Andrews to give her a birth control pill prescription, even though she knew she was pregnant, because she said her mother would question her as to why she didn't leave with what they came for. So Dr. Andrews was super hesitant about giving her this, but then he ended up giving her a birth control prescription anyway. And then he told Skylar to come back for a more extensive ultrasound and for prenatal care. He also told Skylar that she should tell her parents about the pregnancy, and if she had any thoughts about harming herself or the baby, that she should give him a call. It seems like since Dr. Andrew knew Skylar for so long, maybe he believed that she would come back for prenatal care or she would end up telling her parents. But it is alleged that Skylar never followed up with the clinic, and the clinic tried contacting her several times, but they were never able to get a hold of her. So after Skylar came out of the doctor's office, her mom could obviously tell that she had been crying. And when she asked her, what's wrong, Skylar just said that, this is my first OBGYN appointment. It's just so traumatic. And I guess her mom believed her. On May 5th, 2017, Skylar attended prom with her boyfriend Brandon. And during this time, she started having what she described as super bad cramps. She lied and told Brandon that she had just started her period, even though she knew she was pregnant. Apparently, no one knew Skylar was pregnant, and the cramps she was having was actually signs of early labor. And some may question, how the hell did she have contractions basically and still continue partying at prom? Well, when I gave birth to my son, I actually started having contractions 2 days before he was born, and I had no idea what they were, and they were super mild, so I believe that it's probably possible that she was able to sort of just ignore the pain. And then Skylar actually wore the same prom dress that she had purchased in February 2017 when she was around 5 months pregnant, in May 2017 when she was around 8 months pregnant. Again, this makes sense to me because when I was pregnant, I didn't have a big bump at all. Kind of just looked like I gained a bit of weight, or I was super bloated. But I'm much bigger than Skylar, so if I was her mother and my skinny little daughter is just gaining weight in her belly, no one questions this. I don't know how that doesn't even cross her parents' minds. 11 days after Skylar visited the doctor's clinic, on May 7th, 2017, Skylar gave birth to a baby girl in the middle of the night in her bathroom by herself. She had begun having labor pains earlier that day and claims to have given birth to the baby in the toilet. Skylar claims that the baby was born stillborn, which means that it wasn't born alive. Skylar then claims she cleaned up her bathroom and took the baby, whom she had named Annabelle, into the garage, grabbed a shovel, dug a hole, and put the baby and everything else into the hole and bury it in the backyard. I'm guessing everything else was the placenta, the umbilical cord, and maybe any bloody rags. Skylar didn't go to the doctor. She didn't tell her parents. She didn't receive any aftercare. She just went back to her normal life. Now, let me tell you, as someone who has given birth, I have no idea how she did this, because you need aftercare. Did she need stitches? Did she make sure the entire placenta was delivered? She would have no clue about any of this unless she did her research, and she's lucky she didn't get an infection or severe blood loss. The next day, on 8th May 2017, Skylar sends a text to her mom saying, "I'm literally speechless with how happy I am. My belly is back. Oh my God, I'm never, ever, ever letting it get like this again. You're about to see me looking freaking better than before. Oh my God." Her mom responds with, "That's what I'm talking about. Way to be. Great attitude. It paid off. I'm so, so proud. You will look amazing at school tomorrow." Now, if you take a look at some of the text messages between Skylar and her mom, they are weird. If my daughter had an eating disorder, I would not be encouraging her every time she sends me a picture of how skinny she is or telling me she's burning 300 calories on the treadmill to prove it to me. Skylar was a tiny, skinny girl, and it seems that her mother wanted this perfect life, perfect family so bad that she encouraged Skylar to be at her best too. On July 12th, 2017, more than 2 months since Skylar had given birth to baby Annabelle, she went back to the same doctor's clinic to get a refill of her birth control pills. This time she was seen by Dr. Casey Boyce, And when a staff member at the clinic recognized Skylar and realized, like, wait a minute, she doesn't have a baby with her, she informed Dr. Boyce, who then asked Skylar about her pregnancy. When Skylar was asked this, she broke down and began to cry and told Dr. Boyce that she delivered the baby alone in her house, cleaned everything up, and then buried it in the backyard. Dr. Boyce, obviously being in shock, asked her, "Am I the first person on this planet that you've ever told?" And Skylar confirmed that nobody knew. Dr. Boyce then offered Skylar a physical exam, but Skylar declined, and then she advised Skylar to go and get some counseling due to the traumatic event that she had just been through. Skylar asked Dr. Boyce not to tell anyone, but after Skylar left, Dr. Boyce went and consulted with Dr. Andrew, the initial doctor who found out about her pregnancy, and the two doctors decided to call the police and alert them. Now, if you're like me and wondering what the hell happened to doctor-patient confidentiality, well, in Ohio, there is a statute known as mandatory reporting, where if doctors suspect that abuse or neglect or a crime has taken place, they have an obligation to report it. On 14th July 2017, the police attended the Richardson home, and they told Skylar's mother, Kim, that Skylar was not in trouble, but they needed to speak with her. They then took Skylar down to the police station for an interview. As soon as Skylar was questioned by the police, she started telling them everything. You can watch the interviews online, and you can tell Skylar is terrified, but in my opinion, you can tell she knew she did something wrong. Skylar explained how on May 7th, 2017, she started having labor pains, and then she gave birth to a baby girl who was born stillborn. She claimed that when the baby was born, she checked for a heartbeat and couldn't find one, and that the baby wasn't moving, and she tried to revive the baby, but nothing was working. And then she claimed after realizing this, she went ahead and dug a small grave and then buried her baby. Skylar keeps repeating how sorry she was and how she didn't kill her baby, that the baby was born stillborn and that she was so sorry. But you can tell the police don't believe her, but they still continue being super nice to her. After this, they inform Skylar's parents of the situation, and then Skylar's parents are allowed into the room and they comfort Skylar. And she keeps saying, "I'm so sorry, mommy." And she lets them know that the baby's father was Trey. And her parents say, you should have told us. Her mother, Kim, says, kids get pregnant every day. It's not a big deal. But then at the same time, she goes on to say, we had the perfect life. Now the neighbors are going to know and it's going to be all over the news. The way her mom acts in this interview, like all she cares about is the family's appearance. Not once do I hear her sound concerned about this baby that was buried. Also, the way Skylar talks is super creepy. Like she's almost whispering and speaking in this baby tone, and she keeps calling her baby it, which is also just really freaky. At the time Skylar was being interrogated, the police was at the Richardson residence digging up Annabelle's remains for it to be examined by a pathologist. 6 days later, on 20th July 2017, Skylar was called in for a second interview by the police. And this time, the police stated that Skylar must be lying about what happened the night her baby was born, because the pathologist who examined the baby's remains, her name was Dr. Murray, reported that there was evidence that the baby's bones may have been burned. When Skylar was questioned on this, she immediately denied it and said she promised that she never burned her baby. She says that she doesn't understand how that could have happened, and she actually denied burning her baby 17 times in total. Now, this is where the biggest problem in the case arises, because as the detectives continue questioning Skylar about the burns on her baby and what actually happened on that night, they begin suggesting to Skylar like, "Oh, maybe you tried to cremate the baby. It's okay if you did, just tell us the truth." Skylar changes her story and she says, "Oh, maybe I burned the baby's legs with a lighter." The detectives then give her possible scenarios of what may have happened on the night. And Skylar's initial story changes again, where she states that the baby was not born stillborn and maybe she heard the baby gurgle. Basically, as soon as Skylar said this, she was charged with reckless homicide and taken to jail. Her parents were able to put up bail and Skylar was sent home on house arrest while they were awaiting trial. Skylar pleaded not guilty for the murder of her baby, and she was further charged with aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, endangering children, and the abuse of a corpse. In the course of the trial, a second pathology report came out which stated that there was never any evidence to show that the baby's body had been burned. This later led to the defense suggesting that the detectives had gotten Skylar to confess to something that had never been done during the interrogation that took place. Now, this comes down to interrogation tactics, and many people in the past have been known to confess to crimes they never committed due to the interrogation tactics. This ended up being a huge factor in this case. Now, there is so much information about this case and hours worth of transcripts, so I'll give you a quick breakdown of what the prosecution says happened and then what the defense states happened. The prosecution stated that Skylar was a teenager who got pregnant, and she did not want a baby to ruin her life. She didn't want to be a single mother. She wanted to go off to college. So when she gave birth, she took the life of her baby and she covered up all the evidence by burying it and pretending that nothing ever happened. They state that her search history showed she looked up how to get rid of a pregnancy, and that Skylar began taking the birth control pills that Dr. Andrew had prescribed to her while she was still pregnant. And she continued taking these even though she knew she was pregnant, so she was trying to sabotage her pregnancy. They also relied on her text messages to her boyfriend Brandon and her mother Kim, where after she gave birth, she stated how her belly was back and that it didn't sound like someone who had been through something so traumatic the night before. They focused on Skylar's mother Kim, how she was image obsessed and she put this pressure on Skylar. They also produced evidence showing that the clinic that Skylar attended accidentally sent Kim an email with Skylar's pregnancy results. And following this, Kim sent Skylar a message saying, "What the hell is this?" And Skylar responded by saying, "Oh no, it's just a mistake. I'll explain it later." And Kim responds with, "If this is true, this will ruin everything." Over the weeks following the birth, Skylar apparently sent multiple text messages to her mother showing off her weight loss and telling her how she lost 20 pounds. And one day in class, everyone clapped for her massive weight loss achievement. And Kim responds by saying, "I could literally cry. You're my hero." The fuck? So they basically state that Kim knew about the pregnancy and didn't want their image to be tarnished, that perfect family image. So basically, Skylar's actions were not that of someone who didn't know what they were doing, were not of someone innocent. It was more so of someone who was trying to get rid of an inconvenience and carry about with their perfect life. So the defense's version was completely different. The defense stated that Skylar was a scared young girl who went through a lot in her life. They state that she was sexually abused as a child, and that in turn made her a people pleaser who perhaps succumbed to authority figures. So when Skylar found out she was pregnant, she was terrified because due to her eating disorder, she never really had regular periods, so she wouldn't actually know that she was pregnant. And they also stated that at the clinic, when Dr. Andrews informed Skylar that she was 32 weeks pregnant, that at the time she was actually 36 weeks pregnant. And because she was told she was only 32 weeks pregnant, she believed that she had more time, 8 weeks to go and get help, to tell her parents to get support. But then she delivered her baby only 11 days later. They also used Skylar's mother's quest for perfection as a reason to why Skylar didn't want to inform anyone about her pregnancy, that she would have been so terrified to disappoint anyone. They claimed that Skylar's baby was born stillborn, and even though she didn't want anyone to know about her pregnancy or about the baby, she never took her baby's life. They stated that she was scared and she didn't know what to do, so she gave the baby a proper burial in the backyard and was hoping that things would just go back to normal. They state that she never tried to cremate her baby and there was no evidence that the baby had been harmed too. But after being pushed during the interrogation, Skylar told the detectives what they wanted to hear due to her being a people pleaser. So that was both the prosecution and the defense's side. And then on September 12th, 2019, the jury found Brooke Skylar Richardson not guilty of aggravated murder, but since she buried the baby, she was found guilty of gross abuse of a corpse. The sentence for this is actually 1 year in prison, but Skylar received 3 years probation. But recently it was reduced to just 1 year probation. Skylar now works as a paralegal, and she has been interviewed, and she says that she feels guilty for not letting anyone know about her pregnancy, and that she feels like she's being haunted every single day of her life. So that is the case of Brooke Skylar Richardson. It always makes me super sad when I hear of these cases involving innocent children. I mean, we'll never know if the baby was born stillborn or not, but just knowing that this baby wasn't wanted, and there are so many people out there who would want a baby who can't have babies, like it just makes me feel so sad. So I know this one will have mixed opinions, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy videos like this. Hit the like button and leave me a comment below, say hi. And I will see you in the next one, guys. Besitos. Mwah!